Well, joining us now is Metta World Peace, and you are joining us from where? Where are you these days? In Southern California, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, over here in Southern California, kids finishing up school. So we've been here since when I signed with the Lakers 12 years ago. We just stayed in California.
Take us through what life is like for you these days. I know Pacers got the chance to cheer you on, and we want to get to all of that here a little bit later. But what's a day in the life like for Metta World Peace?
It's been really good. For the most part, my kids are in college and doing different things like that. So I have to make sure that I'm here, being able to be supportive. I remember when I first retired. Well, I never officially retired. When I first stopped playing in the NBA, I was figuring out what I wanted to do. I went into the G League with the D League, the Defenders, and I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of do it part-time because I wanted to be around my children a little bit more. That was like maybe 5 years ago, I think, or maybe 6 years ago, or something like that. So for the most part, just monitoring. There's not much to do, but you just want to be here, if your kids need anything. I got one son's at USC doing gaming design and development. So he's a developer. He worked at Intuit, developing for QuickBooks. He's only 20 years old. So, he's a protege doing a lot of amazing things, had a scholarship to UCI, actually. And, he's just foregone his scholarship to pursue development full-time. He's got accepted into the USC Cinematic School, which is really hard to get into. So that's been really time consuming. And my youngest daughter's about to go to college. My oldest daughter is finishing up college. And then my boy, my oldest boy, he left school early to pursue the G League. So he's with the Blue Coats over in Delaware. So that's been a full-time gig.
Oh, I've got a lot of big picture questions, but you mentioned you never officially retired. And with all these guys coming back on the COVID hardship contracts, you saw Joe Johnson coming out of retirement and playing. Did you give it any thought?
Well, I didn't give it any thought. So what happened was I played about 18 years, 1 year with the Brawl. That counts for me because I was an NBA player. But so I played about 18 years, and my last year I was mentoring, guys like Julius, Jordan, Clarkston, D'Angelo Russell, all these guys. So I didn't get a chance to play, but Coach Walton kept a stat in practice, right? And that stat was who has the most wins in practice. And I was on the top of that board, okay? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's how that goes. But, my last game at Staples Center, I had 18 in the second half, because that was the only game I played. So, and that was April, right? So I'm getting ready for playoffs. So in my mind, I'm getting ready. I just naturally get ready for the playoffs. It come April. But, with that being said, it was time for the younger guys. I still wanted to play, but I didn't think I would have an opportunity to play in the NBA because I wanted to play on some teams. But I said, oh, my career is pretty much over. So I stopped doing NBA workouts. And now this comes around. I'm like, oh, my goodness. I'm 42. And I'm not quite ready.
Well, you mentioned mentoring and, you're really involved with your kids, but there still is a lot of maybe basketball in some capacity ahead for you. Is coaching something that you will consider in the future?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I always wanted to coach. Actually, Coach Carlisle told me, I got to say this is 2003, 2004. He said, you're going to be a great coach. And I was like, really? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, Coach Carlisle said that. So that always stuck with me. So my last 2 seasons with the Lakers, I was assistant coaching under Coach Torino Johnson for Palisades High School, the girls team. And we won back-to-back championships. So after my Lakers practice, I would go to practice at Palisades High School, which is the same high school that Jeannie Buss went to. Also, she went to that. Steve Kerr went to Palisades also. So I would go there and coach the girls and then sometimes coach the boys. Then I coached Beverly Hills Boys High School for a little bit, assistant coaching in practice. Then I did the G League Defenders. I've been coaching in the top league in LA for like 7 years. Oh, actually 10 years. So I really love coaching. And right now I'm coaching Cal State girls, Division II. I like coaching girls, no problem. And I'm also coaching. I got about 10 I got about 10 local teams here in Los Angeles that I'm coaching. Local adults, high school, college, that I'm coaching every now and then. So I'm staying real close to the game. And, for sure one day I want to win a title as a coach.
Metta World Peace is here and joining us. And we were hopeful, Metta, to catch up with you when you were in Indianapolis. You were pretty busy that day. You didn't get the chance to do it, but I'm almost more glad that we're getting to talk to you now after the fact, because you can kind of reflect on that trip, that day, being at that game. What did being back in Indianapolis mean to you?
It means a lot. And if people don't understand, we know we got history in Indiana, but I remember, in 2009 when I was up for Houston, I actually wanted to go back to the Rockets first because I was there. So I wanted to go back there first. And then when they didn't offer me, then I told my agent, who was David Bauman at the time, I said, give me to Indiana. So he calls Indiana. That was that wasn't going to happen at that point in time. But, I kept my house in Indiana. I kept it for maybe 14 years, So I always felt like a Pacer, even after the championship. When I won the championship on the panel, I was, shout out to the Pacers because it just didn't feel like a real title. It's a real title to me. I really love the Lakers, but internally, when you set your goals, when you set your mind to a goal, you want to reach that goal. You don't want to fall short. And that's been my whole life. That's why I work so hard and play so hard to the end of the second. And, and with that being said, I didn't win a title at Indiana. So for me, it's either all or nothing for me. Like even my awards that I have, I don't even know where they're at because it's not enough, right? So I didn't finish the job. So with that being said, it was something that was always on my mind. And it's just me, it's a gift and a curse to be me. There's a lot of passion. And then, I'm very obsessive, when I put my mind to something and when I don't accomplish it, to me, it's a failure. So with that being said, just being back in Indiana, I'm older, a little bit wiser now. It felt good to be able to reflect on the good times, right? It felt good to be able to reflect on the opportunity that I had. And just 3 people from my neighborhood played in it with the Indiana Pacers: Sean Green, Vern Fleming, who's it's just so much history there, So, with that being said, it felt really good to be back, and that's why I'm rooting for the Pacers, to one day win a title because, the Pacers deserve it.
For those who weren't there, you were sitting just right of the baseline, and a timeout came and they put you on the video board and you got a rousing ovation. Take me through that moment from your eyes.
It felt good. It felt like home, like Indiana is home, what I'm saying? And that's, the Lakers actually, revived my career, just by bringing me here. So I'm always going to be in debt to the Lakers and, embedded and integrated into the Laker family, but Indiana is home, what I'm saying? It's a place where I told myself that I was going to win a title. I'm looking at when I was in 2003, I'm looking at Shaq, Kobe on the other side. And it's not about how good those guys were, and RIP Kobe. It wasn't about how good those guys were. It's about what am I going to do to be a part of a championship team here in Indiana. Because I'm very competitive. And just to get that standing ovation, it was bittersweet for me because that's the type of ovation you want when you're 42 years old with a ring on your hand, an Indiana Pacers championship ring. That was more for me. It was a little bittersweet. So, but then again, as I put some perspective on it, it was an amazing experience.
After that standing ovation, or actually before that standing ovation, you had a chance to speak to the current Pacers, and Rick Carlisle wanted you to have 5-10 minutes with them, with Antonio Davis as well. And he told me that as he introduced you, he said, you're getting ready to hear from 2 of the most competitive players in franchise history. What did that moment mean to you, and what message did you try to send to those players?
It was a lot. It was a big moment for me, as we understand, the pace, just being in that locker room again and being with Coach Carlisle. I had my best career under Coach Carlisle. Half, I would say 30%, of my career and my big year there in Indiana as Coach Carlisle. He put me in position to be successful. Then I would say the other 70, probably Chuck Person and Larry Bird. You know, I would say maybe 25% Larry, because I was in the gym with Chuck every day, and Larry would come down. I think he was there almost every day, giving me tips. You know, so, but when you're younger, you think it's all you. You know, you think I'm the one putting in this work. I'm the reason why I'm doing so well. When you get older, you be like, hold on a second. It wasn't just you. So it took me a while to just process that, you know, get my thoughts straight. And then just being able to talk to players, losing right now. I could imagine what they were going through. I know when I was losing, I was a sore loser. I hated losing. All my issues came from losing, right? Every problem I had, I mean, we lost against the Knicks. I mean, there's only one game. Then I throw the TV monitor, I throw the camera. I just can't live with myself. It was just, I can't sleep at night when I lose. It's really I guess it's a gift and a curse, and it's very uncomfortable, you know, being that competitive. Just really can't deal with it. So from that perspective, you know, I just wanted to let the guys know, just think like a champion. It's that simple. You know, you're here, do your work. And my message was real simple. You're a champion. You know, I don't really have much to say.
I saw firsthand your level of competition, how much you cared when I was working in Terre Haute. This is the early 2000s, and I thought it was a big deal. I got to come over and cover an NBA playoff series, and I was, taping some stand-ups on the court afterwards, and all of a sudden you come trotting out in your uniform. There's media doing some of their post-game stuff, and you're getting an extra workout in. Is that kind of an example of the competitive juices that you had, the fire that you had, where if you had a bad game, you immediately wanted to continue to work on your craft?
For sure. I know sometimes, after, the Pacers we would play, I'll just go right to the gym. I'm right in the gym, and the families is walking through the court. I'm like, you might want to walk around because I'm working. I remember one time we was going to Detroit. This is before the playoffs. This is the season before the playoffs. And I was having a bad stretch. And, I went in, I got to the hotel in Detroit. I forget the name of the hotel. And ordered a limo, told the limo I'd go pick me up a basketball, come back, pick me up, and take me to outside court. It was like maybe 3 or 4 feet of snow outside, like 3 or 4 feet of snow. Windy, really windy, snowing like hard. I'm just out on the court. When we land, getting ready for a game tomorrow, because I was just like that obsessive, I stayed out there for about an hour, put some gloves on, had my hoodie on, had my scarf, and just went to work. And it was actually that day was really interesting because I don't know where I was at. And I think I was in a bad neighborhood because police arrested some people that was watching me work out. I pulled up in a limo in the neighborhood, and these people were watching me work out, and they got arrested. It was wild, so I don't know what the hell was going on there, but
I think we could do this podcast maybe once a week. Stories with Metta World Peace.
Yeah, but it was just just trying to be the greatest. Like, you just set your mind to something. That was me. I wanted to be the best. That was it. And you know what? Came up short, but I tried. And that's all you can do is try.
When you think back to your Pacer playing days, and you can tell that it still eats at you a little bit, not getting to win a championship here, but there were so many good moments too. Do any specific memories stand out to you as some of your fondest moments in Indianapolis?
I think the practices is my favorite memories of being in Indiana. Y'all didn't see the practices. I mean, we'll start with Jeff Foster. You know what I'm saying? Like, going up against Jeff Foster every day in practice, that wasn't easy. Then you got me and Jermaine. That was, trying to get a layup on Jermaine. Like, damn near impossible. Al Harrington, going up against him, and then after practice, playing one-on-one with Al Harrington, one-on-one with Jonathan Bender. I always told people, if Jonathan Bender wasn't hurt, I would not have been starting that small forward. It's just not happening. Jonathan Bender wasn't hurt. As competitive as I was, probably the most competitive, but he had too much skills. People didn't get a chance to see him, and it was very unfortunate. I mean, we had a glimpse of him in the playoffs, actually, the year we lost to the Detroit Pistons, and he played pretty well. He blocked some shots, might have even hit a 3. And going up against him every day was not easy. And then you got Anthony Johnson, Jamal. I mean, that team was incredible. So the practices is what I remember most and what I cherish probably the most from being in Indiana.
You obviously played up until really just a handful of years ago and kind of got to watch the league evolve. But when you go back and watch some of those games back in your day, I mean, the physicality of it, you're seeing games that are finishing in the 60s and the 70s. What's your perspective on how the game has evolved? And you were such a versatile player that I'm sure you would be able to adapt to today's game. But what you think it would be like if you were signed to a contract today and you were a 25, 26-year-old kid?
It would have been rough for whoever's on opponent. It would have been very rough because, some players would have played well, but even when the rules were changing, the referees would always tell me, hey, Metta, get your hands off. Metta, I'm like, call a foul. You know what I'm saying? Call a foul. It's not a foul because positioning, beating your opponent to the position. And for me, when I beat you to the position, if you run into me, then I'm going to give you a little nudge back. Right. So you got to keep running to me. So unless you want to do that for 48 minutes, I would have adapted anywhere. And then on offense, people forget about that. On offense, that's great. I mean, you can't touch me. So now it's like, that's a 30 piece. That would have been a 30 piece. So, so it would have fit me well, even if defensively, I would have struggled. But then how are you going to guard me at the 5? A small forward guarding at the 5. I don't know. I don't see that being possible. So, but I like the way the game is being played today. I don't reflect much from that perspective, but, I kind of enjoy it.
Your personality, your enthusiasm, your confidence, it comes through on this podcast. Do you think those are some of the reasons you became, such a fan favorite? And, despite everything that happened, you got the standing ovation and people still admire what you did for the franchise.
I think what we did for the franchise was pretty big. It was, it's kind of it was good and it was bad, but for the most part, the most wins in history. So, I mean, that's something. I cherish it. The Pacers have a couple of things that they could stand on as an organization, and obviously we want to get that title. We got to get that title, and when it happens, it happens. But I'm a part of history. I think I'm the only defensive player of the year there. So that's something that that's not enough for me, but you know what? It's okay. We got some history there and it's all about capitalizing and building on it. Sometimes it takes a long time. We saw the Bengals just win their first game in 30 years. Sometimes it takes a long time, but the Pacers, it's a championship organization. And, it started with Donnie Walsh for me. And anyway, started with Donnie Walsh, one of the best ran organizations, during his tenure, and it's about understanding that and realizing that, and giving yourself some credit as an organization. Sometimes they say don't beat yourself up or whatever. As a city, as an organization, you got to realize, we are one of the best organizations around. If you look at the track record. And just being that consistent. Some organizations came around and just went on a tear, winning championships. But when you talk about consistency, the Pacers are among the best.
Metta, before we let you go, I want to talk about the All-Star campaign. That was a big part of your visit. We've seen that campaign now on social media for guys like Domantas Sabonis, Karis LeVert, really the whole group. What was that like for you to take all of it and be involved in it?
That was great. I didn't really expect – I knew I was going to do something, but I didn't expect it. So, I had to turn on my so-called acting skills. It was fun. And, just like being able to support the up-and-coming all-stars. Sabonis' son is – I think I played against his dad maybe once. But, to see him playing really well, very smart. Brogdon is a pretty solid player. So it was great to be able to support, those guys that's, on the ballot or being considered, being that when I was in Indiana, it was the only time I was an all-star. And I had a lot of support, from the organization. So, it kind of felt good to just give it back, just being in a different seat right now.
As you take a step back and think about, hey, I'm back. The Pacers fans cheered for me. The organization has welcomed me back. Did you think that day would come? And now that it has, do you think there are more days like that in the future?
I'm really going to cherish that because just wearing the Pacer hoodie and it was a big moment. A lot of my friends called me. People identified me as a Pacer, even though a younger generation identified me as a Laker. Basketball fans identified me as a Pacer. I mean, that was a really big moment. One of my favorite moments, just being able to watch the game, enjoy the game, and hopefully it'll be more days like that. I'm still kind of obsessive, but I'm a little bit more wiser now, so I don't care how it gets done. I'm hoping we can get the best players here at Indiana. I'm hoping the players there now just really work hard. You win the championship today. You don't win it next year. You win it today, right? So, and with that mindset, when you get into the summertime, you win that championship on June 1st. Then you win it again on June 2nd. Then you win it again on June 3rd, and so on. Then July. That's the day where you win it. Then when the season comes, you're prepared because you put in so much work. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's always going to come back to that for me. It's always going to come back to that for me. But with that being said, what a great day, to have that kind of reception. When I came back, I didn't know what to expect, but it felt really good.
No matter while your playing days may be over, we heard at the beginning of this conversation how you are perhaps just as busy as you were when you were a player. So we very much appreciate the time. I know the fans love that moment just as much as you did, and to get the chance to sit down and talk with you, it's been a real pleasure. And both Jeremiah and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Go Pacers, and is A-class city, and I'm not going to say be patient. I'm just going to say, just stay with it, right? Stay with it, as fans. And, this thing is going to turn around. It's been turned around, but we're going to get over the hump. I'm not going to say it's going to turn around. It's only a losing season that happens. But, we're going to get over that hump, and put that ring on our finger one day. So, just stay with it.